You ever done your first death spot? What's that?
Come on, man. Everybody's done a death spot. When's your left side? All right, well, here we go. Pow! Get out! That's such a good movie.
I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly. They're like, peacocks don't fly. He gets a running start.
Welcome back to episode 12 of the Loggerhead Golf Podcast. This week it's U.S. Open week, third major of the year. What are your guys' initial thoughts going into it after what we've seen the last 2 weeks?
Oh, I'm ready for another big golf tournament.
Yeah, so it's going to be a new golf course we haven't seen before for the major. It looks like it's going to be pretty interesting. What are some of our thoughts on the venue that they're playing this week?
I've actually had the chance to play it. It's tough. There's just no way around it. It's extremely tough, extremely a lot of undulation. Green complexes are very difficult. But yeah, and to see some of the TikToks and Instagrams of how deep the rough is, especially just 2 or 3 feet off the fringe, I think they're going to have a very difficult time this week.
So they haven't played it. What are some holes that you think are going to be key holes this week?
God, it's been so long since I played it. And it's the North Course, right?
Yep.
14.
14, that's the par 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Long par 5.
They've stretched out some holes that there's some par 4s that are playing over 500 yards.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a bunch of par 4s playing over 500 yards. I mean, let's talk about the closing stretch. The closing stretch is 542, 520, 492, and those are all par 4s.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to hit it long, you hit it straight. I mean, it looks like they've widened the fairways at 300-yard mark.
So how long ago did you play it?
Let's see here. I left California in
pre-renovation?
2012 was when I left California.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I mean, you played it when it was tree-lined and tight. I was going to say they've opened it up.
I was like, my initial thoughts, look, kind of cruising through and checking out the golf course online, seems very generous off the tee.
Yes.
Looks like about every landing area in that 300-yard range really opens up. I don't know whether intentionally or not. There's plenty of room for the bombers to play a drive out there aggressively into the fairway and try to attack that hole from there. A couple of other general thoughts I had about the golf course was, to me, the bunkering. I noticed a lot of bunkering short of greens. The fronts of greens are very well protected. So it's a golf course that appears is going to suit someone who can either stretch their tee shots out, get wedge approaches in, or can hit their irons fairly high.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the one thing is in the renovation or restoration, they added a lot of fairway bunkers too, which, you said a lot of the fairways are a lot of the holes, you have 60 yards at 300 yards off the tee.
Right.
There's a lot of bunkers at that 300 point, but I mean, you give the best golfers in the world, 40 yards. They're gonna find. They're not even thinking about that bunker. So like that's the biggest takeaway of looking at the golf course. I think whoever essentially hits the most greens and keeps the ball in play, there's not a lot of trouble to get it out of play. But
I was gonna say, yeah,
whoever keeps the ball in front of them and hits the most greens and has the most looks is probably who's going to come out on top.
I say whoever can keep out of that thick rough.
Yep.
And hit greens.
Well, I think they do this every single major. They, you notice there's not as many videos about how thick the rough is there because I don't think it's that thick.
I don't either. It's only in certain places.
It's only in certain places.
That golf course wasn't really designed to have thick rough like that.
It's supposed to be firm and fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Last time I played it, it felt like it had kind of a Core and Crenshaw kind of feel to it.
Well, it's a classic, golden age of golf architecture design. It's a George C. Thomas Jr. design, who also he designed Riviera Country Club. Several other golf courses as well too.
So you'll have rough in certain areas, just like you do at Riviera.
Yeah.
I mean, there's rough in certain areas, but when you're watching TV, and we talked about this past, they're only showing the guys that are playing good. They're hitting it in the parts of the rough that they know is
and still gives them an angle and approach into the front of the green. As we kind of mentioned, the fronts of greens are protected by bunkers, but I mean, if you hit it, let's say the right-hand side of the front of the green is opened up. If you hit it in the right rough, you're in the rough, but you've got a window you can run it into that front of the green. It gives you still some access into that green.
I mean, I almost feel like the Memorial Tournament 2 weeks ago for the most part, not distance-wise, but tighter fairways, thicker rough was set up harder than what this venue is in certain aspects.
Yeah, I would also say that golf course is designed around having tighter fairways, tighter landing areas, and thicker rough. It's not a classic style golf course.
Yeah.
Jack Nicklaus designed that in the 70s, so it's a more modern golf course.
I was gonna say, what was Jack Nicklaus's strong suit?
Hitting high fades.
High fades off the tee, being long and hitting it straight.
Right.
So Memorial, like that brings up a good point. It's a big golf course. He added a bunch of length to it, but those guys are so dang good. They're gonna. Doesn't matter what's in front of them. They're gonna the best are gonna find the fairway.
I think that's what'll be interesting about the par threes. Multiple par threes this week. Yeah. Over 200, but most notably, what is it, 297?
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of talking about the golf course, some of our keys for success this week, obviously the par threes. Par three yardages are going to be quite crazy. We've got 5 par threes on the golf course, 228, 284, 171, 290, and 124. So
that's dumb.
284 and 290. What are our thoughts on those long par threes like that?
Why are we playing par threes, having to hit driver or 3-wood into a hole?
Well, these guys don't have to hit driver or 3-wood into those 2 holes.
I mean, they're going to be hitting. They're going to be hitting
irons, maybe a 3-wood at max. But they won't be hitting a driver.
I'm just saying, there's going to be some out there that might have to.
I doubt it.
Yeah, but
they both play downhill with areas in front of the greens where you can run the ball on. I mean, the strategy there is not going to be landing the ball on the green. I don't feel if it plays firm and fast.
Regardless, I still think it's dumb.
I'm going to argue the difference on that. I think actually it's good, for several reasons. Honestly, number one, these are the longest golfers in the world. But these golf holes, if you look at some of classic architecture. These golf holes were designed to have a long approach played into it with a long golf club. So George C. Thomas, when he's designing these golf holes, now granted I know in the early 1900s when he designed this golf course, he wasn't designing it at 290, but he was designing it for that golfer to have to play a long golf club into that hole. He's designed the green layout, the approach into that green to have a shot played in it with a long golf club, something that's going to hit and run and get the ball on the ground rolling. Okay, so classic golf was meant to have the ball played as much on the ground as what it is in the air. I feel like the U.S. Open or the USGA would be doing a disservice if they play these par threes up. I want to see them play at that 290, that 284 all 4 days. Make these golfers stand there and have to hit a long golf club and hit a well-struck,
precise
shot with a long golf club. Ball striking is still a skill in golf, right? It's not just about putting.
Yeah.
So let's
every single week on the PGA Tour is a putting contest.
Exactly.
RBC Canadian Open putting contest. Yeah. But I get that. I don't see 290 as skill. I mean, 290 is not skill because you're landing it short and running it up. I still think
you're over. They did
it at Oakmont. Oh, I know, but they did it same thing at Oakmont where they made a par 3 284 yards. They're all hitting 5 irons, running it 30 yards.
They didn't make that par 3 that long. That par 3 is that long. It's designed to be played at. It's not even at that point. And you got to understand too, when these golf courses were being built, par was still being defined.
True.
Right? We still didn't necessarily have what a par 3 was, what a par 4 is. I mean, A.W. Tillinghouse didn't invent these terms until the late 20s, early 30s, which is around the time these golf courses are being designed. So it's very possible when George C. Thomas designed these golf courses, this is not necessarily a par 3. It's just kind of getting shoved in that category. I don't see anything wrong with them playing a 290-yard hole and a 4 being a good score.
I was going to say, I don't see anything wrong with it. I just think at 290, there's these fairway woods and stuff. They're so good. I wouldn't say you give these players a 5-wood, a driving iron. They're going to hit it as good as their 6 iron.
Yeah, so, I mean, AJ's probably going to tell Dustin to hit 9-wood every time.
Exactly.
Yeah, or 7-wood.
That being said, I mean, it brings up a good point though because hole number 6 is 285.
Yeah,
that's drivable par 4. Now, it's a weird one.
I'll say also kind of very similar to Riviera.
So you go 6 to 7. Both those holes are 285.
One's a 4. Well,
that's the thing.
Number 6 is, it's 285 on a straight line, but it doesn't,
I mean, but you can go at it at a straight line.
Excuse me while I refill.
But I think, well, it ties to the point. I do think with there being 5 par 3s, a couple short par 4s, right? essentially those guys this week, and we'll pay attention throughout the week, but the guys that play those holes under par is probably who's going to be at the top of that leaderboard.
I think so as well too. And like I say, par is kind of arbitrary on some of these holes, but these long short holes are going to be key.
And also, goes back to that ball striking comment, because if they get aggressive, like on the drivable par 4 and hook it or push it out in that rough, again, it's not that thick, but the root structure, it's going to get grabby.
Yeah.
So you might see some of these guys, sure, they're 30 yards away, and they chunk a wedge. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a mix there. Like it may not be thick rough, but the way the root structure is at the bottom, being grabby and a lot firmer than what a U.S. Open traditionally is, I think we're going to see some really good players struggle with short game.
Well, and Bermuda rough as well too, very grabby.
Going into bent greens.
Yeah, firm and fast. Some things that we don't get to see a whole lot of. So jumping back on to number 6 for a moment, though, I do think it's going to be neat to see the breakdown of scoring average compared to golfers who go for that green off the tee and who lay back.
Yeah.
I think it'll be neat to kind of see how that breaks out with that one.
You're going to see the guys that cut the ball no issue, I think, go for it.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can tell the guys that probably can't cut the ball well. I mean, because if it's 285, some of them are hitting 3-woods.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you think about it, I'm sure, I know mentally if I was preparing and I know a par 3 right after it's 285, why wouldn't I go for it? I'm going to warm myself up.
Yeah, I'm probably going to take a crack at it for sure.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens, because all it takes is a player one time to get in a bad layup by the green. And he's like, nope, I'm 6 ironing out on the fairway.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I think a lot of it's going to be dependent on pin placement as well too.
Yeah.
With classic architecture, and George C. Towns is who designed the golf course, but he's not necessarily a protege of A.W. Tillinghouse, but he was influenced by A.W. Tillinghouse quite a bit in his architecture. And this design at LA Country Club, I feel like you can see a lot of influence from A.W. Tillinghouse. In fact, if you pull up, Miles, do we have the website on there? So like when you look at golf course architecture, honestly, the first hole is a good example. If we can just go to kind of the green view.
Look how wide open that is. I know this is animation, but I mean, these guys are just going to hit driver everywhere.
So you get a couple of crossing bunkers in landing areas is a A.W. Tillinghouse design cue, as well as what we cut, and then we have another crossing bunker here short of the green, and we see this on several holes. But the main thing I wanted to talk about is this bunker here on the front left of the green. This is what we would call an A.W. Tillinghouse master pit bunker. And so when we talk about like strategy and why pin placement makes a big point in strategy, what defines an A.W. Tillinghouse master pit bunker is if we take the axis of the green. So we would call this axis of the green from this angle to here. So we'd have a kind of line drawn across this way. A master pit bunker runs along parallel to that axis of the green, and it runs the entire width of it.
So it's almost like a mini green itself.
Well, it creates the golfer has to make a choice of how much of that obstacle to take on. So we have a front pin placement. You only have to negotiate a small portion of that hazard. Middle pin placement is a little bit more. A back pin placement, you have to take on all of that hazard. So at number 6, I think we could see situations where pin placement could drive a lot of decision on whether we go for that green or not. But some of the things that, as far as architecture, the design philosophy there, again, this is a George C. Thomas designed golf course, but you can tell he was influenced a lot by A.W. Tillinghouse with this design.
Which, I mean, that's how Gil Hance has done a lot of all, because it's been restored and renovated by Gil Hance, and you see that in a lot of the old traditional championship courses that he has done. It seems like every year a major's played at one of his restorations. So I think, and it's more or less a visual thing, right? When you play certain golf courses, you're going to get certain visuals. You're going to see who's up for it and who's not.
All right.
What do you guys think about the short par 3? We haven't talked about shorty.
I say, this is number 15. Can play 124. Will be interesting to see if they choose to use that front right pin placement.
Well, they already said that they're going to play it under 80 yards this week.
So they are going to use it.
They are going to use it.
I think that will look very similar to number 10 at Riviera. I mean, this section of the green
is 10 yards.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of number 10 at Riviera.
So, and I wanted to bring up a good point. I don't want this to be a lesson, but that being said, for those of us, how often do you go out and play golf that you think you should hit it to 20 feet from 75 yards? You're going to see a lot of the best players in the world miss a green from 80 yards this week.
Or intentionally play into the fat of the green and try to two-putt.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So it's like it relates to, we always have to relate back. But, if these players are hitting to the fat part of the green from 80 yards, lower the expectations a little bit. Hit it to 30 feet.
Well, especially like on that front right there. If they throw it to the hole, let's say it's dead center, and you take a player like Fleetwood. Look what he did in the playoff at RBC last week. Is he hit 3 wedges inside of 5 feet and had 40-foot putts with all the spin.
Yeah.
So especially if you throw it too far back and it's on that downslope and you're already spinning, it's going to roll off into the bunker. Or if you get a bad hop off that firm green, it's going to go into that bunker. Yeah. It's going to be a fun hole.
I already seen videos from it. This front bunker looks treacherous.
Yeah.
It looks brutal. But what does this remind you of? Like this green complex. What does it remind you of?
It reminds me a lot of number 10 at Riviera.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you see that kind of, it's that make or break shot.
I was saying, how hard is it for the golfers to hold that green with chip shots, right? And they're going to be trying to hit an 80-yard shot into this one. I like I said, I think you'll see a lot of golfers not even take this risk on, go to the center of the green,
how many are laying up?
Well, I feel like that's going to be a harder angle from where the tee box is and just hit the center of the green. So I'd just go there.
I guess just as a conversation piece, do we think this will play over par compared to the 227-yard hole?
I would honestly say this hole could very well play harder to that front. Now, granted, to the front right pin placement than what those long par threes were.
I think in general, there will be one of the longest par threes will be the easiest par three.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because it's a pretty big target.
It's a massive target.
This goes back to that ball striking, too, because part of ball striking is controlling spin. So I feel like that's going to be a big
distance, too.
Yeah. It'll be exciting.
And that's the thing. I think this is the first time in a long time that I've been pretty excited to watch a new golf course.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, they go to certain venues. I know a lot of these majors, we go to venues we haven't seen in, 10, 12 years, and it's somewhat exciting. We've never seen this.
Yeah.
So it'll be a really fun time to watch golf. Hopefully they get the coverage right.
Well, and so much, there's going to be, this golf course, while it'll be fun to watch, is the way it is designed and it being generous off the tee is it gives the golfers lots of options in how to play and strategize around the golf course. So that's what's going to make it interesting. Is you're not everyone's going to have to hit the exact same shot around the golf course.
Well, and just looking at the weather report for this week, every day this week, it's high of 72 and the lowest is 59.
Call it's LA.
And
it's
and
the 70s every day.
The highest wind prediction is 7 miles an hour.
Yeah, I don't think
weather's not going to be a factor in this one, I don't think.
It's sometimes a great thing, sometimes it's not, because a lot of times weather defines majors and who's mentally up for it.
I think that's all right. If it stays...
But you know what? It's in LA, so it makes perfect sense.
I hope... I like the weather forecast because I think that will allow the golf course to stay firm, stay fast. And let's see some shots played on the ground. Not so much of an aerial attack, even though we said that with the bunkering on the greens, you're going to have to play it in the air anyway. But
I was going to say, you're going to have to, you're going to see players that throw that ball in the air with irons this week.
Yeah. That being said, too, it brings back that, building your bag for this tournament. Those higher lofted fairway woods, I feel like the Tyrrell Hatton, the Dustin Johnson, the Fleetwood, you're going to see a lot of 7 and 9 woods, and I don't think you'll see as many driving irons this week as you would higher lofted fairway woods.
I would say if I was setting my bag up for this golf course and I saw that there's a couple of long par threes where I know I'm going to have to hit a long golf club in there, I definitely want to give myself some more options on the top end of the bag.
Yeah, not only that, all the par fives are reachable.
Yeah.
So, 2 of the par fives are almost shorter than some of the closing stretch par fours.
Yeah, well, number 8's definitely
number 8
is fairly short. Well, number 1's an opening par 5.
They hit it 300 off the tee. They have 265 in. That's a good 7-wood all day. I mean, so that's what you're thinking. How many wedges do you think are in the bag this week, Kyle?
Honestly, I feel like a lot of players may take that gap wedge out to add that extra top end club.
I was going to say, I would consider taking a wedge out to add in something else at the top of the bag.
I agree.
So if you exclude the pitching wedge, I really feel like we're going to either see two different golfers this week. We're either going to see some players, because of the way the rough and how tight it is, like a lot of your tightless guys, I feel like are going to put in some 62-degree tee grinds maybe with the way the green structure and firmness. But I feel like a lot of players will take out that 50 or 52 gap wedge to have a flex club, whether that's a hybrid or a 7-wood or
What's the new grind that Vokey just is it
the V
V
grind. They
I
brought it
actually
back.
could see that
Yeah.
being
Well,
pretty good out here with the Bermuda grass.
But I like what you were saying, because if you go 62 or even 64 degree, you can just play that wedge square,
Yeah.
and that's a nice thing. So
Yeah,
you
not
don't
have to add any bounce on.
So you could play it and essentially let the grind do the thing, do it for you. But
Because that's something that Dustin Johnson does a lot is he'll change out his wedge loss and just play 54-60. Just to have that because, I mean, at one point, I think the last major he won, he had actually 2 4 hybrids in. 1 4 hybrid was bent 2 degrees weak, but he took the wedge out to make that happen.
Yeah.
So
sounds like me. We got a lot of similarities, me and DJ. So
Yeah, you do.
It makes sense.
I mean, who do we think, since we're talking about players in general, and obviously we keep saying Riviera, obviously Hamna has always played, Max has always played good there. I mean, who's our picks this week?
I say we're moving on to picks. I had a couple different picks. Number one, I think ball striking wise, bombers off the tee, Koepka and Rahm. They're my 2 main picks. But I did take Homa. I feel like, and is a very dark horse pick, given his history in the majors, it's not all that strong. However, Homa does seem to play well in California in general. He plays well at Riviera, which is another George C. Thomas golf course, similar in design to this one. So based on that, I picked Homa as a dark horse pick, maybe a top 10 one.
I like Koepka and also like Morikawa because he's from the area. So he played it quite a bit. That would be 2 of my picks.
If he's healed up, we'll see.
I said Nikki's still scrolling, trying to pick
No,
his up.
I'm
Well, we
I'm
know one of
thinking-
my picks is
I know mine.
Jason Day.
I'm still gonna go Jason Day, but honestly, I think Fleetwood, after coming off of last week, I think that was such a big boost for him. I mean, Sunday was one of the more exciting times watching golf, but in his closing stretch of holes, the most curvature any of his tee shots had with a driver, which is something he struggles with, was only 4 feet of movement. So talking about accuracy and getting some extra distance. So I would say for me, Jason Day, Tommy Fleetwood, if Tyrrell Hatton can keep his attitude together, and then I honestly think it's going to be a first-time major winner if Koepka doesn't run away with it. I really think this golf course sets up for a first-time winner.
Yeah, we kind of pick on you about Jason Day, but he does have like that kind of. He's got the length off the tee. He has that high ball flight that we're kind of talking about with the irons and the wedges, to where he can control trajectory.
Hopefully he plays a
Play to some of
practice
those-
Well, and
round.
if you think
Maybe he will.
Torrey Pines and
Maybe he just uses
Riviera,
his decade book to get him
played
around for the
good.
practice round.
Bingo.
what about you?
I mean, it's hard not to. I'm a strokes gain guy, so I look at the top strokes gain off the tee. We're looking at Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, Brooks Koepka, and Victor Hovland. Victor Hovland, I would say, is a dark horse because he's never won a major, but he's finished in the top 10 in the last 2 of them, so you can't really call him a dark
One
horse.
2 weeks ago, too.
I just feel like
Yeah. I mean, he's just so
Hovland's
good.
too good of a
Well,
golfer
the
to
thing
call
is,
a
he
dark
just hasn't
horse.
pulled it through in that huge
In the ones that
tournament.
matter,
The
yeah.
Memorial's really big, so it's a strong field. So we'll give him that. I think the winner of this championship will come in the Thursday afternoon pairings. First round, they play in the afternoon. So essentially, everyone that's in those are like Brooks Koepka, Colin Morikawa. Colin Morikawa and Scotty Scheffler tee off very late on Thursday, so they get to watch TV and see how the golf course is playing that first round. It has nothing to do with weather. I just think it has to do with you can go out and see how it's already playing.
I say Morikawa and Scheffler are at 8:13 on Thursday.
I thought they're in the afternoon.
So, yeah, I might have to eat this comment, and I'm okay with that. I don't think Scheffler makes the cut.
I wanted to pick Scheffler, but his putter's been cold.
Yesterday,
ice cold
he was
for a
he had
while
Scotty
now.
Cameron make him 3 putters yesterday, and midway through his practice round, he was on the course changing the weights out. So you just won the Masters. I don't think I would ever take that putter out per se.
Right.
Maybe look at something different.
443.
But I really
Looked it up,
think that
8:13.
Scheffler may
That's
not
when I looked it
happen.
up as 8:13.
So
Because he's playing home on Morikawa, right?
Yeah. But I even mentioned that someone from that group is who I would say is going to play well. Homa,
Maybe my
Morikawa.
sources aren't correct, but
and
yeah,
Scotty
this one
Scheffler.
says 4:43 p.m. Question is, are they going to be able to finish?
We got it right here. Let's
I
figure
know.
it out.
How about crazy dark horse? Because he's been playing really well, and he's always been one of the best ball strikers in the world. Do we think Adam Scott shows up?
if the Mez putter keeps working like it has been,
Yeah.
obviously another Riviera LA golfer that's
Oh, no, you're right.
Jesus. That always plays well in California. I think, he could give it a run, but for him, it's all about
They
the
ain't
putter.
winning.
Changing your pick.
Change my pick. They ain't winning.
I think the issue with Adam is the driver.
Yeah.
Is even the last few tournaments he's played really well and finished top 10. Off the tee box, he's been horrendous.
But this golf course isn't going to necessarily penalize him with that.
Wow. Yeah, I think.
I say of our pairings to watch. I mean, mine was I picked that Homa, Morikawa and Scotty Scheffler group. I feel like in that group you have Homa plays well in California. He likes George C. Thomas golf courses. Morikawa is a solid iron player, and then Scotty Scheffler is a bomber. Obviously, he's a strokes gained off the tee and approach. If he can get that putter warmed up, I think that group will be.
I think putting comes down to everything for all three of those players. Because
Absolutely.
Morikawa struggles the last 2 years have all come from the putter.
Yeah, I mean they're all good ball strikers.
I mean, we know how Scotty is. Scotty Scheffler at the Memorial had one of the best strokes gained weeks of all time.
Bless his heart.
His putting, he was dead last. It's bad. That's how you know
Sounds
you're
like he
battling
needs
some-
a Sam Putt lab.
Maybe needs a Mez. But any other groups or pairings this week, or I guess on Thursday, I should say, that we're
We
looking
discussed
forward to
Rory.
watching.
But Rory hadn't been playing as of late.
Well, he played.
is
He
getting-
played 3 great rounds at the RBC, Daryl.
And then he had to play on Sunday. Suddenly lives enticing.
So you thinking Rory might show up this week?
I mean, he's won a couple, hasn't he?
He's won one U.S. Open.
Well, maybe it's the PGA Championship I'm thinking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, he won a U.S. Open on a very wet golf course. This is going to be, I think, firm and fast. But
I mean, it's going to sound harsh or rude, but I just think with everything going on, Rory's still too involved with politics and the golf world to focus on golf.
so there's too much going on off course for Rory, I feel like, to really be competitive this week.
So not that he's not worth talking about, because obviously he could surprise us. I mean,
he's Rory.
Last
Yeah,
week he putted
sure.
the best he's putted in this season, but I just think there's so many distractions, and with everything coming out of that meeting, I just don't know if he's as focused going into this major as we've seen Rory in the past.
Well, give me Rory that won that U.S. Open at Congressional.
Oh, yeah.
I loved watching that Rory.
Yeah.
I mean, because he dominated.
I say he was on with his iron play that week, too. I'm looking forward to watching that pairing with Brooks and Rory. Hideki might be just kind of there for the ride, so to speak, on that one. But
Actually, I think Brooks and Hideki are there for the ride.
yeah.
They might just let Rory walk out in front, so he gets his standing ovations, and then
Yeah.
the other two that are playing golf might play golf behind him.
Hopefully everybody that can get along in that group.
Well, no, you remember Brooks and Rory were hugging it out after the PGA.
They have, yeah, that's true. I'm gonna say, like, as far as our PGA Tour and Live golf
Yeah.
pairings, looks like the USGA really tried to avoid as much controversy as they could with that, in most of the pairings.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, a lot of the other majors kept the Live guys together,
Yeah,
and sprinkled in some.
here and there.
Like Augusta was, they made a pretty firm stance that they weren't gonna put any guys together. Now it's like they Augusta separated them. USGA essentially saying, nope, we're back.
Yeah.
Back to normal.
Yeah.
The best are gonna play with the best, and then the others are there. I mean, what do we think leading in? Because a lot of the interviews are this afternoon, stuff like that. What do you think the interviews are going to be like this week, since it's the first tournament since the news came out?
That's the first major event as well, too, where all the players
Sure.
have been back together as well.
I would hate to be a player right now. I mean, to not be able to focus on golf and have to focus on everything else.
It's really easy. They ask you those questions, say no comment.
Yeah, doing Marshawn Lynch.
I don't know.
I'm just here so I don't get
fined.
I really think
Actually, the live guy should say that. The live guy should 100% say that.
Yeah.
I really think it's going to be boring. I know that's crazy, but I think they're going to take away so much of how cool this event is at LA, the golf course, and they're just going to hammer out, well, what happened last week? What's your thoughts on last week? And if I'm that player and they're just doing that, I'm just going to say, well, since you guys aren't asking any questions that pertain to this golf course and this event, our interview's done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, if I was in that position.
Yeah, just tell me I don't have any insight into the ongoings of the business.
I was going to say, the only
DJ
guys
Tour
they really need to, like, you watch so many player interviews from the last week of what they thought of the news. It's like the only guys you should have been asking are the Justin Thomas and Rory from the PGA Tour, and then the live guys. So it would be Phil. I mean, Brooks isn't going to say anything. No. He's never said anything in interviews. So maybe Phil and Bryson, because I think Phil and Bryson were the only ones that were still attached to the lawsuit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, how much more can Rory say? I mean, everybody knows he was involved. He knew it was going to happen. He even said he knew.
Yeah.
So, what more are these reporters going to reach for?
It's a story they can grab onto for right now. I mean, they're definitely going to be asking everybody.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. If I'm a player, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just going to either address it or not. Now, so we haven't really touched about DeChambeau much, but how do we think he's going to play this week?
I think he'll play well.
Honestly, I looked at this
Looks
golf
like he's
course
found his game.
I feel like this is a golf course that suits him. Like we said, there's really no penalty off the tee.
He's made another swing coach change.
Has he?
And a caddy change.
He's been changing stuff.
But looks like he's
changed
found
all his
one
golf
that,
clubs, too.
ping guy.
Well, I think the biggest thing with him is he's not like, when have you heard about Bryson this year? It's kind of the first time in 3 or 4 years where he hasn't been on every headline of, oh, he's gaining weight, now he's losing weight, now he's gaining muscle, now he's losing, now he's doing long drive. It's coming into this, you really haven't heard anything from him.
Which is probably the best thing for Bryson.
Exactly.
And then, like on his Instagram and YouTube, he's just been training pretty hard at his facility he's building. He's a big LA golf guy, but Project X has made him a couple special shafts for the driver and fairway wood. So
the old T11s.
T11s, they started making them again for him.
T11s. LA golf guy, but plays Project X drivers.
Well, I always got to find what works. I say, honestly, I hope he plays well. It's always interesting when he's up there in contention. Just seeing him hit drive.
Another one where it's going to come down to putter and wedges.
Wedges, yeah.
For him, it's always been wedges.
And I think we've got to mention, a local golfer, Patrick Cover from UNCW. Is a UNCW alum, I should say. Made it through qualifying and is in the field. So that's obviously congratulations to him, and I hope he plays well as well too.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stories about people that qualified. Like 13-year-old is in the field.
Yeah.
No, he made a driver from 297 on the par 3.
Did he make the US Open?
Did he make? I
don't
thought
think
he said.
he made it.
Oh, so he made the qualifying.
He made final qualifying.
He made final qualifying.
I thought you said he made it this morning.
Well, then we know there's one golfer hitting a driver on this.
Yeah, dang.
Well, I think what's cool with Patrick too is, he's Mondayed into, and I may be wrong on the number, but I believe 4 Monday qualifiers
He's
in the
had
last
several
year,
starts. Yeah.
and then got some contemporary status. So it's not like
Temporary status, yeah.
he's going into this with no experience playing a tour event. So it'd be awesome to see a local guy make the cut.
Yeah, it would, for sure. All right, so we've talked a little bit about the golf course. We talked a little bit about some of the players. I want some thoughts on what we feel like winning score is going to be on Sunday.
Well, we got
12 under.
12?
I've changed my number.
We'll do it after this, but I would say the guys hitting fairways, I would say 12 to 14 under.
Yeah.
If it gets fast and uncontrollable, because again, there's no rain.
They lost the golf course.
Honestly, don't think 8 under is out of the question.
Yeah.
I really don't. It's all going to depend on. I think after Thursday, we'll know the score.
Yeah.
I mean, if we see a 64 on Thursday,
But a lot can change from Thursday to Sunday.
If the USGA sees a 64
That golf
tomorrow,
course
that golf course is going to be completely different on Friday.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, no. You don't come here and do that.
shipping in rough from somewhere, I don't know where. But
You out there
Now, granted,
rolling with spotlights on them.
What is the scoring record in the U.S. Open? Tiger won at Pebble Beach at around 12, and Rory, I think, tied
I think Rory has it
around 12 or 13. Like it's right. So like
No, it's deeper than that. I think Rory won it.
In a U.S. Open. I mean, 12 is deep in a U.S. Open.
Yeah, but you're forgetting
Miles,
about
can
the
we look that
modern
up?
golf ball.
Lowest winning score of U.S. Open. It's going to give it like 1956, like 25.
No, it's not. It's either Tiger or Rory. It's either Tiger at Pebble Beach or Rory at Congressional.
But
Yep, Rory 268.
What was that? I mean, we know that's 268 total. What's that relative to par? 284, 288 would be par. On a par 72, I believe. Anyway, reason why I'm making a big deal of this scoring record is picking 1,200 par
It's -6.
is essentially picking a scoring record, right?
Rory and Koepka share the record for -16.
yeah,
Okay. So we're like borderline a scoring record here.
I would.
Is what we're predicting.
I'll say mine before yours. I think one player runs away with it, wins by 4. He'll be 11 under par.
Basically, that's mine. It's going to be 10 to 12.
I don't think he'll be close.
Yeah, I think one player is going to just ball strike this golf course to death, hit greens, and a few putts are going to drop in. I don't see enough trouble on the golf course for it to really bring scores up for the entire. Don't get me wrong, there will be high scores out there, but the top golfers in contention are going to be low. I think 10 to 12 wins this golf tournament. Which, honestly, I think that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, so you don't think it'll be like the PGA Championship where there's only 9 or so guys under par?
I mean, it very well still could be that, but the winner is going to be about 10 or 11.
And that's the biggest thing, and a lot of people don't realize, yes, these tournaments, they can change the conditions overnight.
Yeah.
It's really not hard.
I think a closing thought that I have, because we haven't really brought it up, but if they're actually going to be able to get finished, with tee time starting at 6:43, is that what we said?
So early.
I think pace of play for this particular event is going to be rather slow.
I mean, pace of play is going to be slow.
Yeah.
But now, is that 6:43? Is that local time?
Yeah,
or is
well,
that
that's
that is
they're
local
teeing
time?
off that early local time.
Right, okay. What's the latest tee time? The last tee time off? Because that's the one you got to really look
4
at.
in the afternoon.
We'll see right here. He's pulling it up for us.
Keep scrolling.
And it's a double T start.
Yeah.
so
2:27 local.
So 2:27. They'll get finished. It'll
They'll
be
finish
dark.
right at dark.
Yeah, it'll be dark, but they'll finish.
So pretty cool there.
It's going to be a long day Thursday and Friday for sure, though.
Well, especially that group right there, 143, Finau, Spieth, and Cantlay.
Might be a surprise winner out of that group.
We can go ahead and put them on the clock right now. We'll go ahead and start it.
Brooks is going to freak out.
Well,
oh, no,
at least
opposite
Brooks is
opposite
on
sides
the
of the
golf
golf
course.
course. Oh,
Brooks is behind him.
no,
I was gonna say, that
opposite
would be
sides.
hilarious
10
if
and
he
1.
was.
10 and 1.
Okay.
You know, Brooks probably saw it coming out. He's punching a wall.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, wait, never mind.
Got two broke knuckles before he tees off. But yeah, it's gonna be a slow round of golf Thursday and Friday. But I mean, we always know that going into it.
Another guy no one mentioned today, Cam Smith.
He's been playing well too.
DJ.
I'm a little hurt because last time we picked him though, he laid down like a cheap lawn chair on us.
Wow.
Where was that at?
I think we took him at Masters.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I was say the PGA, he finished in the top 10.
Well, I mean, playing with him, Sam Bennett, obviously, when he played at Augusta this year and ran away with the storyline, he was an AM and first pro major.
I was going to say, you see that? No A next to his name.
Yeah.
And then Fitzpatrick. I mean, that's a great group, too.
Golf is so deep.
Yeah, it's a deep field.
It's a deep field. Anybody can win it. I just think whoever hits it the furthest is going to win it.
I say biggest thing I'm looking
Furthest
forward
and
to
shortest.
seeing a lot of golf played on a pretty cool golf course. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm hoping that they keep it to the golf this week.
Yeah.
Not all this PGA Live nonsense.
Stay away from the drama. Any thoughts, Daryl? Finishing up?
Don't get distracted on 14T.
Don't get distracted. What's on 14T?
Playboy Mansion.
What?
I'm like getting ready to tee off, and all I hear is I can't really do the noise, but it's a peacock.
Oh, God.
I'm like,
Daryl, I
world?
would like you to do that noise.
Yeah, let's hear it.
No,
Do your
we're
best
good on that.
peacock.
You're a peacock. You gotta let me fly. This got out of hand. Time to wrap it up.
All right.
Well, cool. Well, I guess tune in next Tuesday to see if we were right or if we're eating some of our words. If you haven't already, like and subscribe on YouTube. Turn on your push bell notifications. And we'll see you next week. Thanks.